Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel, and today we're going to be talking again about The General by Guns N' Roses. I know I did a video last week talking about the potential leaks of The General and Monsters and sharing my thoughts on what I heard, but now, as of last night, Guns N' Roses have performed The General live for the first time, so I'm going to be talking all about that here today, what I thought of the performance, how it sounds, and, is it better than how the demo sounded? Let's talk all about it. Let's get into the music. After 16 years of waiting to hear what The General sounded like, Guns N' Roses fans finally got a legit version of the song live when they performed it for the first time ever last night at the Hollywood Bowl. It first surfaced as a leak in 2007, and so the speculation has been there for a very long time. What did The General sound like? Were the leaks legitimate? Would they ever perform it live? Would they ever release it? It was supposed to be the B-side for Perhaps, and of course, in typical GNR fashion, that got pushed back, but some more leaks came out last week, which I reviewed here on the channel. Again, I could not vouch for the authenticity of them because we don't know for sure until we get an official release by the band. But after hearing it live, and it's on YouTube, go ahead and check it out. I can now say that those leaks sounded very much legit. Of course, it was The General and Monsters, which we weren't sure at the time if they were going to be two separate tracks, if they were going to be one song together. But judging from the performance last night, 4 minutes long, 4 minutes or so, maybe 4 minutes, 30 seconds, it was just The General. So it sounds like General and Monsters will be two different songs, which is cool, right? More, new Guns N' Roses music, the better. But, when it comes down to it, performing it live, I think it sounded much better than it did on the potential leaks because, first of all, you didn't have that terrible vocal effect, which I think really ruined the leak for a lot of people in terms of the way it sounded. And, Axl's voice now is obviously not what it was back when the song was, originally recorded and written. But, more credit to Axl for still giving us a real show. His voice doesn't have the same power that it used to, but I think it still sounds really, really solid, very atmospheric during the delivery of a lot of the lines in the verses, and then the chorus is more explosive. So I enjoyed that aspect of this live performance. It definitely translates much better to a live stage, I think, than it did on those leaks that we heard last week. So I just hope that what we heard, during those leaks that were put out last week was not the final version of that song, because if so, it definitely sounds very unpolished in terms of the production and the sound. It sounded like a demo, and so I think when it comes to a final product, you don't want it to sound like a demo. So it sounded much cleaner performed live, so I definitely hope that when we do finally hear The General on vinyl as the B-side to Perhaps, it does sound a lot cleaner. But in terms of live performances, it sounded very clean last night at the Hollywood Bowl. Great performance, in my opinion. Again, super cool to hear Slash and Duff McKagan on a track like this, and it's been a song that's been shrouded in mystery for so long, kind of that holy grail of the Chinese democracy era. So to have this live is crazy, right? I mean, at the beginning of the year, if you were to tell me Guns N' Roses would be performing The General live in 2023, I probably would have laughed at you. But now we have The General. It's been performed live. It's out there. And, I'm really pleased with it. I think it sounds better than the demo suggested, and even though I enjoyed the demo, I do definitely prefer it without all the vocal effects. So I think it sounds great, and I hope they continue to, perform this live in their set lists. But after 16 years of waiting for GNR fans, that's longer than I've been waiting, I can tell you that. But after all of this time, we have this great holy grail GNR song out there, and it sounds fantastic in a live setting. So I was very pleased with that and wanted to share my thoughts here today. Another thing that I wanted to address here, and because it was very prominent in the comments section for my review of the General and Monsters demos that were out last week, is, will we ever hear more of these Chinese democracy leftovers, on a more consistent basis, in the sense that will they ever release, a lot of these tracks in bulk? It just seems like GNR now are coasting on the release occasionally of, these Chinese leftovers because there's a novelty to them, and there definitely is, right? It's very cool to hear these new unreleased songs for the first time, but at a certain point, you have to start thinking, well, why don't GNR just put out all these unreleased tracks, at once and just move on from this era? I definitely can't be the only one who feels that way, and I know I wasn't, because there are a lot of people in the comment section who vocalize this. It'd be very cool to kind of get a Chinese Democracy Part 2 or a Chinese Leftovers type of thing, where they just drop, like, maybe 10 of those unreleased songs from the Chinese democracy era and just get them out there. That way we don't have to continue to wait, and they don't have to continue to, sporadically release them. We can move on to potentially new GNR music. And when I say new, I mean new, like the band getting together in the studio and making new music. It's been a while, since Duff and Slash got back with Axl, 2016. They're not in this Lifetime tour. So, since that time, we haven't gotten anything, brand new written. Since then, we've had Absurd, which was Silkworms, Hard School, another Chinese leftover, and, now, of course, The General, potentially Monsters coming out soon as well. let's hear some new stuff. And when I say that, I mean I want new studio tracks that were written during this time period, which is not to take anything away from how cool it is to have the novelty of these Chinese democracy tracks finally being dropped, but let's just get that out of the way. Let's stop coasting on the release of these older, unreleased songs. Let's get them all out there. That's what I would suggest, and now focus on the future of GNR. And I know a lot of Guns N' Roses fans are anticipating, at some point, a new album. I wouldn't hold my breath just because, with everything with GNR is very tedious, but I think it's definitely something that would be beneficial to the band if they were to focus on new music in the future. I know the fans would like that, and I definitely would be in support of it. Although I do enjoy what they're doing, releasing some of these Chinese democracy tracks. I think they'd be better doing so in bulk instead of, spreading them out and spreading themselves so thin at this point, focusing more on making new music for this era of the band. But that wraps up my brief review here of the live performance of the General from the Hollywood Bowl, debuting this song for the first time ever in their live set. Sounds fantastic. It does sound a bit different from the demo in a sense that the vocal effects are gone, which was definitely the right decision. So I really enjoyed this track. I think it sounds very solid. And, again, when it comes down to these Chinese democracy releases, I just hope that they, eventually just get a bunch of them together, say 10, maybe, 8 to 10, and just put them out at once, because I want to hear new music from the band that was recorded, relatively recently. So with that in mind, I wanted to share my thoughts here today. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on the bell for notifications so you never miss a new upload, and let me know down in the comment section below. I want to hear from you. What were your thoughts on The General performed live by GNR, the first ever live performance of that song? What did you think of it? Let me know all that good stuff down in the comments. And of course, until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.